Happy Monday once again. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to your WWE Raw review for September 6th, 2021. Was going to be a tough show to sit through after what we all experienced last night, still kind of riding that wave, riding that high of last night's terrific all-out pay-per-view by AEW, and now we had to come back and torture ourselves for 3 hours of Raw. I even debated all day as to even come up and do a review. I just couldn't deal with WWE today, so I really wasn't sure if I even wanted to, but I'm glad that I decided. It took me all the way up until about 2 hours before showtime to decide if I even wanted to do a review tonight or just hang on and wait until I return on Wednesday for our watch-alongs that begin. But I'm kind of glad I did because Raw was not horrible, and there's a couple of things I thought would be fun to follow up on from last night and hang out with all of you guys. And yes, thank you everybody in the chat. Today is my birthday. I will be beginning my 44th trip around the sun. I was trying to work out the mileage on that, trying to figure out how far I've traveled. But thank you to everyone who sent me all the well wishes today on Twitter. Tons of DMs and a few emails too. So thank you to everybody for that. And we'll see how tonight goes. Let me know your thoughts on tonight's Raw. Give me your letter grades, A, B, C, or D. Give me a 1 through 10. What you thought of Raw tonight. I didn't think it was the worst Raw we had ever seen. It was kind of bookended by the tag team turmoil match that was to determine the next challengers for RK Bro, but they split it up into like two segments, the opening of the show and the main event, with a lot of extracurricular stuff going on, and a great outing by the New Day with some fantastic ring gear, especially Kofi's rocking that Kevin Nash gear, which just looked awesome on him. So the show had a couple of bright spots. It wasn't that bad, and they are starting to set the table for Extreme Rules, and as we predicted last week in the review, does look like they're going, or it has been made official actually, for the WWE title at Extreme Rules, Bobby Lashley versus Randy Orton. Excuse me. And I honestly don't hate that match. I'm sure there's some fans that are going to complain that Randy's had a lot of title matches or some shit. He's Randy Orton. There's no limit for him. And on top of that, I don't think it's a match we've gotten since like 2007 or whatever it was when Lashley was there. So a lot of time has passed, and I think this makes a good, solid opponent for Bobby Lashley, especially if Lashley continues his run as WWE champion. So they're going to be getting a shot at the tag team titles next week. So maybe they lose the tag team titles, but Lashley retains against Orton, something like that, or lose the tag team title match, I should say. But we'll talk more about that as we go. In terms of the rest of Raw, it was a lot of the same old shit. They did pick back up with the Alexa Bliss and Charlotte stuff during the title match with Nia Jax tonight. And other than that, not a whole lot. I mean, the show was dominated primarily by that turmoil match. It was like 8 matches in one, and they had to break it up. And like I said, New Day went on, I think, a 1, 2, 3, 4, I think a 5-match victory in that. Is that how many times they won before finally getting knocked off? So it was a big showing for them, but in the end, we got some interesting stuff. I mean, at least WWE gave us some fresh matchups. I thought for sure it would be New Day lasting all the way until the end, but instead it was AJ and Omos, which set up a pretty interesting confrontation between Lashley and Omos, and that actually kind of ended the show along with an RKO. So at least they're trying to give us something a little bit different. Of course, WWE couldn't resist. They absolutely had to pin a champion tonight, which they did, and they're women's tag team champions. So that shit sucked, and I didn't even pay attention to what was going on with the 24/7 title. So all in all, pretty, typical Raw, nothing great. And like I said, coming off the hangover we all have from last night, I mean, what in the world could WWE possibly do tonight that he would even remotely entertain us compared to what we all went through last night? So, I guess they did what they could. But right now, AEW seems to have all the momentum, and WWE's just spinning their wheels, as we saw here tonight. They did run a couple of promos for NXT, the new look NXT that is going to debut September 14th, which is a week from tomorrow. And based on the sketches, they're kind of doing that little colorful video thing. And it looks like it's almost like an animation sort of what the arena is going to look like or how they're going to set it up. And I don't really hate it. It looks okay. We'll see how it looks in person in 1 week, but that's set to debut very soon. Who knows? All the shitting on this we're going to do, maybe it turns out to be a really good thing for them. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I will cruise over here to the chat, say hello to all of you guys. Good to see Jose and Ryan, Timothy, We've got Okawa. We've got Steve. There you go. Thank you for giving me your first name on that one. Thank you so much for that. Robert Johnson's here. We got Charlie. We've got another Steven Stansel. Nice to see you. Thank you for all these birthday wishes, by the way, Steve, Robert. And Deshaun is in the house. What's up, Monkey Wrench? And thanks for the $5 and the very kind birthday message from you. Thanks for being an awesome guy all around. And I hope the past couple of days leading up to your birthday have been great. It was a great weekend. I can't ask for anything more, especially with the great wrestling we got last night. And it's always fun when your birthday lands on a holiday. I was born on a Tuesday, so my mother actually went into labor on Labor Day, according to her anyway. And I was born on a Tuesday, so yeah, back in the day, man. Labor Day birthdays are cool because a lot of times you're off. And if any of you, I know Angie and a couple other people have those early September birthdays. You know what I'm talking about. Your birthdays, I'm sure, fall on Labor Day all the time. Thank you for that, Ben. Good to see Jay Lambo in here as well. Thank you for that. And George Morris with the $5. Yes, I am the double fours, man. Thank you for the birthday message. You're 41. Oh, I lost your chat. Where'd it go? I'm 41. Bra, 0 out of 10. WWE is miserable. WWE on Peacock is miserable. Xbox Series is awesome. NBA 2K22 Friday. Wish I played video games to share your enjoyment there, but I don't. I can kick some ass, though, on NBA Jam. Very good at that game. But in terms of Xboxes and PlayStations and whatchamadiggers, I don't know anything about them. But I'm glad that you're excited. And, yeah, Raw tonight, I'm never going to give it a 0 out of 10, but it was going to be tough to really get excited, entertained, or invested in anything they were going to throw at us, after quite a remarkable show last night. The world is still buzzing about. Thank you, Steven Scott, for the $5. Happy birthday, Greg, and many more. Mine is on the 18th, right on. I have two friends with September 18th birthdays. That's interesting. So, yeah, happy birthday to you. It's coming up, man. September birthdays. Thank you, Big J. Good to see you. Joshua as well is here. Yachiru, thank you so much for that. Latry White, thanks, man. We got some B's and C's coming in for Raw. I think I saw some 7.5s up here. 7 out of 10. B plus over there. B. Okay, so nobody's really given this show an F tonight, so that's, I guess, promising. We did have a Drake Maverick sighting. That's right. Drake Maverick is back on the main roster. Apparently, we saw him briefly tonight in the 24/7 deal, but I don't know what he's up to. He didn't seem too concerned with going after or chasing the 24/7 title. R-Truth even got in his face a bit, but he seemed to be focused on something else. So maybe they're going to finally justify keeping this guy employed. I mean, he cried his way back into a contract, and then they still didn't do anything with him. So, he's right back kind of where he was when he was released. He's very expendable, even though I think he's extremely entertaining and talented and all that. But WWE, no matter what they do, they just can't find a niche with him, We'll see what he's up to now. Oh, you did not watch due to a power outage. That sucks. Yeah, I'm 25 again. I'm going to grow out the mullet. That would be fantastic. Jose, you're coming up in 6 weeks, man. All right. Yeah, your holiday time. Right on. Or close to it anyway. Yeah, WWE is more than Raw. We know that, but this is a Raw review. Raw just ended. That's what we're here to talk about. And yeah, nobody's debating SmackDown's existence. I don't think that's really happening. But SmackDown is loading up their show at MSG this Friday, September 10th. Kind of fitting, doing a New York show one day before the 20th anniversary of 9/11. As a matter of fact, they were announcing today on social media that on Peacock on Friday, on the 10th, they're going to be releasing a Never Forget documentary that I think chronicles the first SmackDown after the tragedies. When they went live, I think they were in Houston, and Vince had the big speech, and Lillian sang the anthem and all of that. So that's going to be a really interesting watch, and I'm interested to see that because I remember all of that extremely well, when it happened, where I was. I remember all the storylines and the angles. I was about as big as a WWE fan as you can be when that was going on. So I remember it well. I'm interested to see how that looks on Friday, and SmackDown is going to be an awesome show. We got Brock, we got a contract signing, we got Seth and Edge likely in the main event, and we got Edge competing in a wrestling ring in Madison Square Garden, which in 2021, which is pretty remarkable. So looking forward to SmackDown this week for sure. Zombie Fighter, good to see you, man. Welcome back. Thank you for the nice message today over on the tweeters, and thanks for the $10. Happy birthday. Thank you for all you do. Hope you had an awesome day. Had a great day. Didn't do much. Birthdays for me are just kind of like regular days. I really like to not do much of anything. So Elizabeth pampered me very well, fed me nice foods, and I've been mostly just chilling all day. So it's kind of nice. I'm in the midst of a 4-day weekend right now. So just chilling and relaxing is all at my age. When you become my age is all you really want to do. And I've got some dinner plans tomorrow with my parents. So all is well here. And then good mic work land. Holy shit, Jay Hunt. It's 4:22 a.m. here in the UK on a break from working on the COVID wards. Oh, yikes. It sucks, but it beats watching Raw every week. Jesus, man. Thanks for the reviews, brother. Anytime, man. I'm glad you're here and glad you have a little bit of a break away from work. And that's pretty messed up that being in a rough situation that you are in is still more pleasant than watching Monday Night Raw. It can be a chore, that's for sure. Do me a favor, hit me with those likes, hit me with them birthday likes. I'd appreciate it. Help out the channel a little bit. And don't forget, I've been mentioning this in every stream. This coming Wednesday, we're going to start a new Wednesday night deal on the channel. AEW Dynamite watch-alongs every Wednesday starting this Wednesday, and we're going to have a pretty interesting show to watch for our first watch-alongs following up of coming off the heels of All Out yesterday. So Wednesday night should be fun. We're going to do that going forward, and this is kind of the end of my summer season, at my job and at work and here on the channel. So starting next week or starting Wednesday, we kick off the fall season, as I've been calling it on the channel. So you're going to have a different kind of look and set up a little bit to the watch-alongs on Wednesdays. And then next week on the Raw review, we're going to have all new graphics and kind of a fresh new look here just to kind of spice things up for the winter season. And that'll all be starting next week. So I'm ready to kind of get into the football season in the winter time and the fall and everything. It was such a hot, crazy summer, and I still got a lot of heat left here in San Diego before it starts cooling off, but I'm just kind of ready for that time of year. I'm ready to take it easy. Summers are just insane for me. I'm very busy. I'm working my balls off. A lot of times I'm going on vacation on top of that, and there's always something going on. This year I went on vacation, and I went to SummerSlam, and I was working during all this, so it was busy, and I'm going to enjoy a little bit more downtime this fall and give myself a little bit more time to do some YouTube and stuff. So just keep that in mind. Watch-alongs this Wednesday. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your grandma, and make sure they all tune in and hang out with me so I'm not lonely on Wednesdays, and we'll watch Dynamite together. Speaking of AEW, just a little bit of a follow-up from last night. A couple of news tidbits out of the media scrum. Adam Cole and Daniel Bryan both talked a little bit about their decisions to go to AEW, and they said exactly what we said they were going to say, or we speculated on prior to them signing. And look, if they both show up there, this BS trope or this BS narrative that's floating around there that all these ex-WWE guys do is come out there and trash the company, that's going to end with these guys because they were both treated very well. They were very well respected. They were well liked. They enjoyed their time there. They had nothing but positive things to say, and their decision was just to go to AEW because they felt like that was the better fit. It had nothing against WWE, or they had nothing against WWE, and that's pretty much exactly what they said. Cole loved his time there and loved everybody he worked with and had a ton of respect for everybody. And apparently even all the way up until his final contract negotiations with Vince, everybody said, and it was reported, that he was pretty well liked, backstage, and there was no kind of hard feelings. And I think with Daniel Bryan, it's the same thing. And to me, that is just very, very telling. And I think those are going to be game-changing moves, because bringing those two guys in on top of the CM Punk stuff, CM Punk's kind of a special case because he hasn't been around in 7 years and he was a free agent that chose AEW. But with these guys, they were already treated well. It's not like either one of these guys could complain about their pushes, but I think we all know what would wind up happening to Adam Cole when he jumped to the main roster. But in terms of the time he spent there in NXT, he was the NXT Shawn Michaels. He was the NXT MVP, one of the best they've ever had there. And Daniel Bryan's been in multiple WrestleMania main events. He's always been treated like a big deal, and they were offered a lot of money to stay. They were offered perks. Daniel Bryan even said that WWE was willing to let him go do outside things. And despite all of that, despite them having a good relationship with Vince and the company, despite them not being bitter, despite them being both offered very generous paydays, and Daniel Bryan getting a lot of what he wanted in his contract, and Adam Cole, likely getting WWE to bend on the Twitch stuff, all of that was going to be given to them, and they still chose to leave. So what does that tell you? They're not going to be the last ones. And they are, a couple of guys, even like Andrade, that jumped ship. Andrade wanted his release. They didn't just release him. He asked for it. Because he's with Charlotte, they gave it to him. He jumped over there. And you're seeing stuff like Cesaro, liking tweets from AEW last night and things like that. I'm like, man, Cesaro's locked in for a while, but he'd be another one that I'd love to see jump over there. Kevin Owens, same thing. And I think when it comes to a lot of these type of wrestlers, when their contracts are up, you might see them jump. I mean, AEW's got all the momentum in the world right now. So this isn't a situation of hiring WWE rejects anymore. You have people choosing one over the other, not just WWE casting off a bunch of garbage and then the other company catching it in their net. That's what TNA used to do for the most part. There was only a few people that really, really, truly jumped ship. Kurt Angle did, Christian did, Booker did, but a lot of other guys were just kind of available and brought in, or WWE released and went over there or whatnot. Jeff Hardy actually as well did. So there were a few. But nothing like this. And this is something that I didn't even think we'd ever see again. So those two specifically, I think, are really going to kind of change the, the perception a little bit that, AEW is just going to sign guys, which it wasn't true to begin with. Like I said last night, you don't know jack shit about wrestling history if you actually believe that ludicrous statement that they only hire guys from WWE. It's a pro wrestling company that needs to hire the best free agents possible. That's what they're doing. So, when you have guys like this now that are choosing one over the other, and overwhelmingly it seems like they're choosing AEW because things like personal happiness, living with as little anxiety as possible and enjoying what you do are really big deciding factors now in jumping over to AEW. It's not just about money. Back in WCW, it was about money. Ted Turner, the guys would let them do whatever they wanted to them. They're getting paid that big. I'll go out and in the middle of the ring and lose to whoever. They don't care. There's a lot of money coming in. This is different. This is professional wrestlers looking at two companies and deciding which one they would be happier in. And I think the overall environment and just a happy, positive working environment, which AEW at least has right now, who knows in the years if it'll deteriorate or change or whatever. Because don't forget, back in the Attitude Era days, when WWE was fighting against WCW, what was going on there? It was all about a team mentality. The locker room had excellent morale. Everybody was just working their balls off. They believed in their product. They knew they had the better product, regardless of what the television ratings were reflecting. They were looking at what that company was doing and everything like that. And I'm like, man, we're better. We're better than them. They just kind of got all the buzz right now because they're still riding the NWO wave. But our product, our storytelling, our characters are better. That's the exact same mentality that the AEW locker room probably has right now. They've kind of got that. They're fighting. They're all, kind of a team. So I feel like they kind of have that WWE Attitude Era locker room morale vibe going on in AEW right now. So that's going to be a deciding factor in a lot of upcoming and future contracts, men and women, in WWE. And same thing will probably be true in AEW at some point. It will start going the other way, once the tide shifts and whatnot. But all in all, like last night I think it's going to kind of go down as being pretty special. I mean, the matches were awesome top to bottom. That cage match, my God, the crazy 1-2 punch surprise at the end, solid wrestling just pretty much all the way through. And you couldn't ask for anything more out of it. So it was kind of interesting to hear Cole and Brian's comments, a little bit more on that. Same thing with Ruby Soho. Getting a little details on that last night was really cool. And like I said, I'm ready as hell for Dynamite on Wednesday. Should be fun. But before we get to fun, we got to talk about Monday Night Raw. 3-hour show tonight. My God. Yeah, I would love to see Sami Zayn, Pete Dunne. I don't know what Pete Dunne's deal is. Haven't checked out too much wrestling news today. He might have re-signed with the company, but he's another guy I'd love to see come in. But we'll see. Can't have them all. All right, I think I caught up good. We're all good on these super chats there. I better start talking about Monday Night Raw so I can stop boring the hell out of y'all, and we can get down to business here. All right, so WWE Raw had an interesting intro tonight. Did you notice? I actually didn't hate it. I don't know if this was just done for the purposes of the turmoil match or if this is going to be something they're going to do going forward. Now, they basically, what they did is they kind of did pre-tapes. It was very like much in the style of Saturday Night's Main Event back in the day, where you would get little quick 30-second, 20-second promos from everybody involved in the matches with some kind of background music playing, and they would cut from one to the other. They essentially did that here, except instead of a black, or green screen behind them, they were actually in the locker rooms, and they were shifting from team to team and let them each speak a little bit. And I actually liked that. The problem is Raw generally does not they don't do what Dynamite does, where they advertise a lot of matches. We know what we're going to see on Wednesday. We know 75% of the show of what we're going to see. And Raw doesn't really do that. They just make shit up as they go. And sometimes Raw is going to start in 3 hours and they have not announced one single match yet. But if they get to the point where they're advertising matches and they actually stick with them, because don't forget, they suck at that too. They advertised a couple of matches last week that didn't pan out. Now they've got a tag team title match next week. If they can stick with all of this, it would be cool if they had multiple matches already pre-announced for the show and they can go through and do those little quick 20-second promos every week. I'd be very much okay with them giving that a shot, because it lets the audience know what they're going to see and what to expect to see and hype up the match a little bit. That's not a bad idea. It's a very old school tool that WWE used to use in the 80s, and they haven't really used it since. So I kind of liked all of that. But the way it was felt and the way it was set up, to me, feels like it might just be a one-week thing, because I don't trust WWE at all to be able to follow through with anything they want to do. I mean, shit, it's probably to the point where you could do those pre-tape little promos to advertise a match at the beginning of the show, and then during the course of the show, Vince will change his mind and then not want to do it or something, and they'll call an audible. So I don't trust their long-term thinking enough to be able to pull that off on a regular basis, but I did like it tonight. So the opening segment, too, was a clusterfuck from the depths of hell. RK Bro hit the ring first. Of course, that's awesome. Randy speaks a little bit first, followed by Matt Riddle. He's pitching all sorts of gear ideas and wardrobe ideas for them. Says they could get a snake, and they could be the Snake and Stallion Express. And he says he'll have shirts made, but he knows Randy Orton doesn't like sleeves, so his mom will cut off the sleeves for him. And he's just rambling on like Riddle tends to do. And that's when Lashley and MVP come out. Lashley gets in the ring. He's pissed off at Randy Orton for last week because Randy Orton hit him with an RKO. So he's like, you think you're going to let me forget about what you did to me last week? Because we talked about it in the Raw review, that Raw RKO to me spoke volumes. That means that's going to be Lashley's opponent in between now and Saudi Arabia, when he probably has that rematch with Goldberg. So he's going to need somebody to work with at Extreme Rules, and he should be in there with a pretty decent opponent. And Randy Orton's a perfect guy. I'm excited to see Randy Orton and Lashley. I don't know why, I just am. So Lashley wants to kick Randy Orton's ass. He challenges him to a fight, and Randy Orton says, fine, but on one condition: if I'm going to fight you, then you got to put that title on the line. And MVP pretty much seals the deal and says that match will take place for the championship at Extreme Rules. So that match is set. And then Lashley goes on to say that he and MVP are going to go to the back and talk to Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce about entering the tag team turmoil match. There's already a bunch of teams. Pretty much everybody is in this thing, and they want to enter it too, so Lashley can beat Orton and Riddle and become a double champion. So they're going to go talk to him or whatnot, and RK Bro is going to stay at ringside to watch the turmoil match. So after that, we get New Day coming out. They're ready to rock. They say a few things on the mic, and they're wearing awesome NWO gear. Kofi is dressed up in the all red, just like Kevin Nash wore the night of Hogan's big turn. And Xavier was rocking the Scott Hall type of themed attire again, which he's been doing lately. Did it at SummerSlam too, I believe. So that was all really cool. And the Viking Raiders came out after that. We went to commercial, and they were going to be the two teams to kick off the turmoil match. So it's really good to see Kofi back, because he's been missing for a while. So I'm glad he's cleared and healthy and ready to rock. And my God, the New Day, as always, show-saving type of matches here. They just ran through team after team in a really impressive effort. They beat the Viking Raiders first. Then Jinder Mahal and Veer came out. They were followed by Shanky. They got to face the New Day first. New Day then defeats them. After that, we get the Lucha House Party coming out. So Lucha's come out there. This is New Day's third match. Another pretty good match. I think we get a commercial break in here somewhere. And New Day winds up getting the win over the Lucha House Party. So that's 3 in a row now. This brings out Mace and T-Bar. You think this is going to be the end of the New Day, but it's not. They managed to defeat these two guys as well. Ali and Mansoor run out, and this is kind of where it breaks down. I don't even know what was going on here. They ran out early. They wound up getting their asses kicked by Mace and T-Bar. They're supposed to face the New Day, and they get just annihilated by Mace and T-Bar. So Adam and Sonya come out, and I think they wind up, I think that might be where they officially announced Lashley and MVP's entrance into the match, but also said that this match is just going to continue later on because it's all broken down. So we're basically going to do the second half of this thing in the main event. So New Day pulled off 4 victories here before getting a little bit of a rest and turning up later on in the show. So it was New Day was just running. I thought they were going to make it all the way to the end and lose, and they changed it up on us, which I did appreciate, but we'll talk about the ending of that later on. After that, we got a match between Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. There is some stakes in this one, which is nice. The winner of this match will get a U.S. title shot against Damian Priest. I did not catch if they said that would be at Extreme Rules or if it's just a title match. Could be anywhere. I didn't hear that. It's probably at Extreme Rules, you would assume. But who knows? So McIntyre and Sheamus have their match, and this is one that I knew, like, these guys, I'm big fans of theirs. These guys do not fuck around when they're in the ring. I've been saying that about Sheamus for the better part of a year now. I think he's just having incredible matches. You know, for someone his age, this stage in his career, I feel like he's as hard-hitting and brutal and vicious as he's ever been. And McIntyre, of course, we know what he can do in there. And every time these guys wrestle, they have pretty good matches. Like, I'm always really impressed. You know, it's easy for like a 180-pound guy to have a good match, but when you can have just these two, you know, behemoths in there wrestling well, you know, I'm always just really impressed with that. So McIntyre, despite all of his faults and shit like that, he's a good worker. He's got a great look. And Sheamus is, like I said, really been turning it on lately. They beat the hell out of each other in a really good match in the end. Sheamus is able to schoolboy Drew McIntyre up and have a handful of tights, and the referee counts 3. So correct me if I'm wrong, that's 2 straight pin losses for Drew, back-to-back weeks. But at least this time, there was some shenanigans. Sheamus had some tights, and after the match, Drew was pissed, grabs Sheamus's mask, which he lost earlier on in the match. It got ripped off. He picks it up, and he just smashes, and smacks Sheamus right in the face with his own mask, and then sets him up and nails him with a Claymore to get a little bit of revenge. But now we've got Sheamus. He'll get the title match against Damian Priest. I would like them to just knock that out on Raw and not fuck around with Extreme Rules, since Sheamus is fucking 0 for 6 or something like that against Damian Priest. So you don't really need to stick this thing on pay-per-view, but knowing them, they probably will. Timothy's got a Drew heel turn coming. I'm into that. I think we need that. Hey, Jordan, what's up? I'll get to that super chat in just a second. I did think I saw it. I skipped over it, though. I'm totally into a Drew heel turn. I just don't know when. It could be, you know, I don't think he'd turn heel and team up with Sheamus or anything like that, though, not based on what we saw here, but something, you know, down the road. It's good to see, you know, I don't think, you know, I saw somebody say like WWE's moving away from Drew McIntyre. There's nothing wrong with like winning and losing matches, you know. So the fact that he's actually got pinned a couple of weeks in a row, one was from cheating. I don't think it's the end of the world. So certainly no worse than what they did at Karrion Kross. We're not talking about a burial here. So, you know, the fact that he's actually, you know, his status now as a former two-time WWE champion is going to help elevate, you know, people who beat him and stuff. So that's why I think that was such a statement win last week for Damian Priest, and I really appreciated the show with respect at the end. So if Sheamus wants to win a match with a handful of tights, that's fine. You know, this is what, you know, when somebody's done with their title run and they're doing other things, this is what you should do. So you might want to start thinking about maybe a heel turn for Drew or whatnot down the road. But as of right now, he's still putting in good work, and the fact that he's losing here or there, I don't think is a bad thing at all. I think it's actually kind of the opposite. So bitching about a Drew McIntyre loss is just something very strange to me, because it seems like anybody bitching about a Drew McIntyre loss are the same people bitching about Drew McIntyre victories. So what the fuck is it? What's wrong with y'all? Anyway, after that, we've got the Odd Couple back at it again, Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH. They're taking on the tag team champions. I don't know if this was a tag team contenders match or whatever the hell they labeled this bullshit, but you knew the tag team champions were in grave danger of losing a match here because the title is not on the line, and WWE does this shit literally every week to a nauseating rate, and it's annoying. I don't know what was going on in the Gorilla interview prior to the match with Nikki and Rhea. It looked like somebody forgot their lines or something. It was a little bit awkward there with Ripley and Nikki. It looked like Nikki might have even kind of told her what to say or whatnot. I don't know. But then they go out there with for their match with Natty and Tamina. Have a little 6-minute deal, and Ripley winds up hitting Natalya with the Riptide and pinning her, and we have pinned champions again. Of course, Nikki ASH jumps into the arms of Rhea Ripley. Rhea likes Nikki, but she's kind of freaked out by the whole thing. I do kind of like the dynamic. It's not like where it was, Rock and Mankind, where Rock just couldn't stand him until he grew on him, or like Orton and Riddle, where Orton couldn't stand him until he grew on him, or two partners who can't stand each other until they grow on each other. This is a deal where it's like, it feels like Rhea doesn't really have anything against Nikki, but she's a bit much for her. So Rhea seems to be a babyface now when she came in as a heel when I thought she should have been a face, and then they just made her heel or whatever. This could be a good opportunity for her to turn heel on Nikki and just beat the fuck out of her or something. I don't know. But since they got a win over the champions, I have a feeling they'll probably put the tag team titles on these two because you know why? It just gives them something to do. It doesn't mean that they want to reward their hard work with a championship trophy. They're like, oh, this will keep them busy. Just slap the belts on them. And I think we can all agree that Natty and Tamina, even though they're both fine and we both love them and their family, or at least Natty's family, they do nothing for us, as champion. And I've always had, and I admit that I'm kind of wrong here. I've always had this really irrational dislike for Natalya, which makes no sense because I love the Hart family. More than anything, they're my favorite wrestling family. I'm a Hart family historian, and for some reason, Natalya drives me fucking crazy. I don't know, it's just her voice and her mentality and her outfits and everything. I don't know why. I understand I'm the irrational one, so Natty, if you're listening, you have every reason, you have every right to tell me to fuck off. I don't know why I'm so annoyed with you. I just am, and I'm kind of just over them being tag team champions. We'll see. DM23, good to see you. Daniel is back. Good to see you, man. Thank you for that, and happy birthday. I met Daniel at SummerSlam. It was very cool, and welcome back, man. And thank you for that, dude. Glad you are here. Let me go cruise up here and knock out one from Jordan, who sent that earlier on that I saw, skipped over, meant to go back to it, and missed it again. There you are, man, and thank you for that, by the way, that $5, Jordan. Watched the first 20 minutes of Raw and said, nope, what a shame. I just want to watch Raw and not be bored. Also, happy birthday, Greg. Thanks for all you do. Absolutely, man. I hear you. As wrestling fans, I don't think it's really that unreasonable of a request for us just asking for shows to not suck, Like, is that really hard? I understand sometimes you have an off night or whatnot, but come on. The shows are the same every week. It's just annoying, but that's kind of the way WWE is. It's what we've come to expect from them as well. Oh, Ryan, I didn't catch that. Cedric and Hardy relegated to 24/7 duty. Were they out there? Was Jeff Hardy and Cedric out there with that Reginald and Tozawa shit? I didn't even notice him. I wasn't that match. I could not watch it. So I got up and started doing other shit. I didn't even really look at what happened. I didn't even write down the fucking result. We'll talk about it in a minute. But actually, last night I saw Cedric. He tweeted out, he said, I'm so jealous of Big Swole right now. Jealous of where she works. So a lot of those AEW tweets were getting a lot of likes from WWE guys. Even Bray Wyatt, I think, liked one of CM Punk's tweets. CM Punk quoted his own tweet from back in December of 2013 when he said, I just don't enjoy this poop anymore. Or he said, this poop isn't fun anymore. And then he corrected that. He said, this shit is fun again in 2020 or whatever the hell he said. Interesting kind of tweets last night from people in both companies, and just all around home run for the new guys. Somebody today, I was talking about, man, we have to watch Raw tonight, kind of joking, like that's going to suck. And somebody's like, well, they're still going to get double the ratings AEW. I'm like, yeah, I know. WWE has a 60-year head start. As a matter of fact, I'm actually surprised they're only doubling the ratings of AEW. How in the world can a company with a 60-year head start have a competitor that's only been around for 24 months getting half the ratings they do? That's actually impressive, not bad. So the fans that like to spin it like these ratings suck, yeah, maybe compared to WCW and all that, they suck, but so do WWE's. In terms of the wrestling audience that we currently have, the type of numbers that wrestling in general does, AEW has got a big portion of that audience. So, to me, that's what counts, in terms of, relative to, the audience that pro wrestling just in general has now. Of course, it's not 1998. We're probably never going to see 1998 again. But in terms of the audience that there is out there to be had, WWE should be scared that they're not doing more than double. If you're a 60-year-old company and you've got a company 2 years old as your competitor, shouldn't you be quadrupling their ratings? Shouldn't you be 5-10x what this company is? The fact that they're, up there drawing over 1 million and WWE's just scratching the surface of 2 is nothing to run around bragging about. They should be, tiny bit concerned. That's all I'm saying. That's another conversation for another day, though. But thank you for that, Jordan. Appreciate it. DM, I got you, my friend. Greg Gagne to AEW confirmed. Oh, man, he's really going to bring that roster up, man. That guy, he's got a lot to offer. What was next after the Nikki and Rhea stuff? Oh, yeah, this will be fun to talk about. So we get Moist TV. Where the fuck is The Miz? There was a story that came out on him. Did he get an opportunity to go do a movie or something like that? Anyway, he's gone for right now. So we've got Johnny Drip Drip there for Moist TV. Now, Moist TV was not done in the ring this time. This was a pre-tape deal where they did it backstage, and his guest is Karrion Kross. Now, one thing I noticed right away, and I was very relieved about, is that Karrion Kross didn't wear the GIMP mask on Moist TV. That was awesome. This is how Karrion Kross should be presented all the time, because he's a big guy. He's got a good look, and when he's sitting there, you can see his face and seeing the intensity in his eyes, and he can just be normal Karrion Kross without fucking shit all over his head. Then I think he's the most effective that way. He can be the most intimidating that way. He's not a bad-looking guy, so I don't know why Vince wants to cover up his face. All right, but I'm covering up his face. He's not Mankind. He's not Christian. He's sexy. There's very few of us, that are that sexy. So I don't know why you would even do that. So when he's there presented in that way, he's cutting a promo. And I think if he ever does in-ring promos and stuff, he's not going to wear that shit out there. But this is, to me, how I want to see him, presented. And Drip Drip was going through his shit. He looked like he was even cracking himself up. Morrison was saying a couple things, and he was laughing in the middle of it. It was almost kind of popping me. But Kross is not really amused by any of this nonsense, and he's just listening to Morrison run his mouth, and he's like, I think Kross says something like, well, Johnny, I'm going to make you suffer. And Morrison's like, maybe you're going to make somebody else suffer, but that kind of sounded like a threat. Anybody who threatens me regrets it, so you might want to go mess with this person or this person or this person. And Kross says, you know what? That's a good idea. I think I will do that. But after I eliminate you. So he's insisting that he's going to eliminate him, and they got a match right after the break. We go to commercial. We come back. Kross versus Morrison. Not a big surprise here. Morrison's not going to beat Kross, although I guess it's not totally out of the question. But Kross makes pretty quick work of Morrison, chokes him out, and gets the win there. Another dominant win. But again, he's out there in the He-Man suspenders and the hat and all that. I don't think it's necessary. The way he kind of looked and the way he delivered his promo on Moist TV is kind of the way I would like to see Karrion Kross presented, not with the other shit. And bring the fuck back Scarlett to his entrance and his presentation, please, WWE. But so I guess this was one of the least annoying Karrion Kross weeks, because at least we did get a chance to see him talk without a helmet on, and he made pretty quick work out of a guy who's been in the ring, as he said, with a lot of top stars. Line of the night for me came from John Morrison during Moist TV when he says, I'm a veteran. I've been here forever. I've got a lot more experience than you, Karrion Kross. I've been in the ring with The Undertaker, with Kane, with DX. The Cool members, which just popped the hell out of me. I guess he's not talking about Billy Gunn and who else, probably the roadie. But good stuff there. That line actually cracked me up. But Kross made quick work out of Morrison, and that's probably the way it should have gone. After that, we get the women's title match. Raw Women's title on the line, Charlotte defending against Nia Jax. This was set up next week. They had that weird match where Nia served up a three-piece to Charlotte's face. Looked like there was some sort of miscommunication, or they weren't cooperating, or something was going on there. Not sure. They're set up for a title match here. Shayna Baszler, of course, is backing up Nia Jax, and Shayna is an asshole. Before the match, she like gets on the mic and just starts saying, "Hey, Nia, I don't think you can do it." I don't know why she's doing this to her. So these two have had a love-hate relationship since the minute they got together, and I cannot believe they're still kind of together. It makes no sense why Shayna is even out there and gives a fuck at all. Their tag team should be done, dismantled, disbanded. Give Shayna a run on her own. So she's giving shit to Nia Jax, and she's like, "What the hell, man?" And she kind of distracts her a little bit. Charlotte and Nia go on to have their match. Charlotte does the big moonsault spot. Nia is very dominant, tossing Charlotte around and whatnot. In the end, Shayna Baszler ends up jumping up on the ring apron again when Nia Jax has got Charlotte in pretty compromising position here, in position to win the title. Shayna hops up on the apron, distracts Nia Jax enough for Charlotte to turn the tables and wind up hitting like a top rope natural selection to Nia. She goes down. Charlotte pins her for the win and retains the title. Nia and Shayna, I think, argue to the back, and that's when Alexa Bliss is back. Alexa Bliss appears on the Tron. It looked like they were starting something between these two a couple of weeks ago right here in San Diego when Alexa confronted Charlotte, but then last week, I don't even think Alexa was on the show. So now we're getting the title match, and after the match, we finally get Alexa back. She's up on the screen in the playground with Lily, and she invites Charlotte to come to the playground. Charlotte says, "No, I'm not playing your fucking mind games. Go to hell." And Alexa says, "Okay, that's too bad. Lily's really pent up, and she's got a lot of energy. So since you don't want to come to the playground, we will bring the playground to you." And that's when the lights go out. They flicker a little bit. And when they come back on, Alexa is standing next to Charlotte, and it's a little creepy stare down between the two. It was pretty funny, too. It was kind of a botch by Charlotte, or by everybody, I guess, because when Alexa was on the screen, that was clearly a pre-tape because she got in the ring pretty quick. So that means it's one of those deals that WWE's done all the time. They always do it. They'll have a pre-tape promo, and they actually expect the person in the ring to have a conversation with that video and make sure you're pausing and answering at the right times. And there was one instance there where Charlotte and Alexa talked over each other, and it's because Alexa was taped and Charlotte probably fucked up. But anyway, looks like we're going to get that. Extreme Rules, Alexa Bliss versus Charlotte for the title, most likely. I don't know. We got a couple of weeks before we have to really worry about that, so y'all's guess is as good as mine in terms of if Alexa Bliss even has a real chance to win the title. That match I don't think is official yet, but I'm assuming it will be next week or whatever when the challenge is finally laid down and made official or whatever. It'll probably be Charlotte versus Alexa, and I don't know, do they give her the title now so she can wrap up this Lily thing and then maybe move on to another dimension or of her character, or maybe going back to being a little bit more like Alexa Bliss used to be? They might want to give her a run with the belt first. You know, they've been selling a ton of those Lily dolls apparently, so we'll see. But that'll be likely coming on the pay-per-view. And you guys, this is where I need your help. I need your help with Tozawa and Reginald. It was a 24/7 title match that took place in the ring. They're in there, shit's happening, and then a whole bunch of people run out. I did see Jackson Riker and some others out there, so I knew everybody was around, and Reginald flipped and flopped and got his ass out of there. I just don't know if he actually beat Tozawa or if he just ran away. We saw Drake Maverick come out to the stage, and R-Truth yelled at him, and he's like, "You're not supposed to be here," or whatever he said, and "That's my baby," and whatnot. And that was kind of interesting because Drake didn't seem to be too affected or too fazed by what R-Truth was telling him and seemed to be focused on something in the ring, but I don't know what the hell it was. So it seems like they might be starting something for Drake Maverick, and I really hope it's not going to be back with that 24/7 title bullshit, unless wasn't he one of the first ones to hold it or something? So unless he wants to get his baby back, I don't know, but it was weird, and I don't know what it means. Charlotte to AEW confirmed. I mean, we kind of joked about that. I mean, Charlotte's another one to where, you know, can she say anything negative about the company at all? She's had 45 fucking world titles. I don't believe, even with her dad and Andrade there, that WWE is ever going to let her go. And she might be one of the exceptions to the rule, her and Roman Reigns and stuff like that, because I'm not saying WWE is bad for everybody. WWE does fit certain talent better, and when WWE has already positioned you to be the Ric Flair of the women's division, you know, to be, and not just the women's division right now, but the women's division in the entire history of the business. I mean, they're trying to surpass Moolah's legacy, everybody's legacy here, and really make Charlotte, the Bruno of the entire women's division spanning, umpteen fucking decades. You know what I mean? So it would probably, she's not going to get any bigger of a star, I should say, or any more visible over on AEW. The only thing that would make her go there is if she was, number one, creatively unsatisfied, or number two, she really, really misses dad and fiance. However, I don't think she's going to have creative satisfaction problems because she's always going to be on top. And I know WWE pretty much, I don't think WWE is going to want her going to AEW shows. I don't think they're going to be cool with that. But anything else Andrade does, I think they kind of understand, and Charlotte's welcome to go. So I don't think that she is in any real danger of leaving, but it makes you wonder, man. Everybody else is leaving. Maybe she would. But Charlotte and Roman Reigns are two that I could pretty confidently say ain't going anywhere. Their bread's buttered too nicely in WWE. I mean, Charlotte gets to make WrestleMania moments, and she gets to carry on that family name and that legacy. And like I said, she's going to be WWE's female Bruno. She really is, or female Flair. So she'll probably stick around, but it makes you wonder, a lot of these contracts, I should look them up and do some research and find out specific ones. I'm dying to know Kevin Owens. He's kind of the next guy on my radar. How dumb does Samoa Joe probably feel about re-signing with NXT when he's watching all the fun going on in AEW? He probably regrets that, even though he claims he does not like and is not a fan of the Forbidden Door. I think he's just saying that. But anywho, whatever the hell happened to Tozawa and Reginald, Timothy is telling me that Reginald won the match. That's good. It's a shame I missed that, man. Probably was compelling stuff. Anyway, after that was pretty much the main event. Tag team turmoil continues. This is going to kick off with New Day against Ali and Mansoor. This was the match that was supposed to happen before T-Bar and Mace fucked up the works there. So it's time for that match now. New Day comes out hobbling, still suffering the effects from the 4 matches they won in the beginning of the night. And they are still, despite all of that, they're able to defeat and pick up a win here against Ali and Mansoor. But after that, they were pretty much completely decimated. And the team out next is the former tag team champions, AJ Styles and Omos. So you knew New Day was fucked here. I thought maybe they could catch Styles. I thought maybe Orton or Riddle could do something to him, allowing New Day to get the win and go into the the final match there. But in the end, Omos and Styles wind up beating the New Day, finally eliminating them, and that set up a really interesting final match, something that I didn't feel like WWE was going to go with. A heel match in the main event, AJ and Omos versus Lashley and MVP. And of course, Lashley and MVP, the reason they want a piece of this action is because they want to go after RK Bro so Lashley can be a double champion. And I knew this was going to be interesting because it was going to put Lashley and Omos in the same ring, and that might be an interesting confrontation when it finally happens. So it does. It doesn't take long either. Both the guys get in the ring together, and Omos offers up a test of strength, which Lashley actually obliges. He gets match continues a little bit. Lashley is on the outside of the ring because RK Bro is on the outside. He gets in Randy Orton's face a little bit. AJ Styles takes them both out with a high cross body, while Omos proceeds to kill Riddle, eliminating them. In the end, we get the match back in the ring. Lashley hits AJ with a vicious spear and puts him down for the win. And it's going to be Lashley and MVP versus RK Bro next week for the championship. And that was a big win there. I kind of didn't feel like they were going to do that. I thought it was either going to be New Day, just so we can get a great tag team match. Maybe they want to follow up. I mean, it's going to be impossible to, top what the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers did last night. But if they want to deliver just a really, really good, solid tag team match next week, I could have easily seen the New Day going over here. But instead, they're going to go with Lashley and MVP, and we'll see if Lashley does, in fact, become a double champion. I kind of hope not. I think RK Bro should get the win here. Maybe even with Randy Orton pinning Lashley. I know. I'm just saying it out loud. Possibly with Orton pinning Lashley, and then Lashley taps Orton out or submits him to the Hurt Lock on Extreme Rules. That would be fine with me. By the way, it should be noted here that after the victory, Lashley is attacked by Omos, who picks him up and does the big slam to Lashley. So Lashley gets put down by Omos as he and AJ leaves, and Lashley recovers in the ring. He then eats an RKO from Randy Orton from behind. So we're getting the tag team title match next week, and we will get the WWE title match between Orton and Lashley at Extreme Rules on the 26th, and that's what they're gearing up for now. So we'll see how SmackDown turns out to be. Last week was a pretty good show. Roman and Balor was spectacular, and it's going to be an interesting show this Friday as well in the Garden back at MSG, where we get the contract signing of Becky and Bayley. We're going to get Brock in the house. Brock has definitely been back in MSG since WrestleMania 20, right? Certainly they've ran a show there and he's worked, I think. I don't know why this is escaping me. He's been back for nearly 10 years, or 9 years anyway. So I'm pretty sure he's been back in the Garden, but I don't know. You guys, you history people, help me out. Let me know what the deal is with that. So I think that's going to be a pretty solid SmackDown on Friday night. So we should continue a week of pretty good wrestling. We know Dynamite's going to be really interesting on Wednesday. And like I said, MSG on Friday for SmackDown. And we've got that big Peacock WWE special, the documentary on the 9/11 tragedy, and the following SmackDown a couple days later, back in 2001, 20th anniversary, all that shit coming up in just about a week. So we've got some interesting stuff to look at in wrestling, and that's good. So you'll get me on Wednesday, you'll get me again on Saturday, and then this coming Sunday, since we have no pay-per-view, we should probably do possibly a watch-along, or I'm going to release that's what I'm going to do. I'm releasing my classic pay-per-view review, Patreon-sponsored review, courtesy of Mike Sem, Great American Bash, 1989. So that will likely be coming to you on Sunday. We'll skip the watch-along this week since I'll be here on Wednesday, and then the following Sunday we'll pick it up with a watch-along. So that's kind of the plan. In the meantime, we'll cruise. Oh, we had a DQ Iron Man match with Kelly Kelly. Lucky him. Didn't know that, Barry. Thank you for that fun fact. So now we'll just kind of cruise over here, answer some questions in the chat, see what else you guys have to say. I've got my fantasy football draft at the top of the hour here, so I got 55 minutes. I know nothing about it. I'm going to pick Tim Tebow first. So I'm just kind of going to wing it in my draft and just sit here in front of the computer and do what I need to do. We'll see how I do. I'm probably going to suck again because my love for fantasy football has completely disintegrated. About 3 or 4 years ago, I just completely lost interest, didn't give a fuck anymore. But I keep being needed for the league, so I can't even retire. I can't get out. It's like the mob. Man, Mike Witt, there's a name I almost forgot about. Where the hell is Asuka? I think she got some new chiclets put in. Good for her. I do know she had that accident on Raw this year where she knocked out a couple of teeth. She got those figured out. Hopefully she's doing all right. Would love to see Asuka back, and she would be phenomenal in AEW. She'd be great. She would be amazing. Good matches to be had there. But hopefully she will be back. Oh, thank you for that, Timothy Hawkins. If I want an underrated match, Mansoor and Ali versus Lucha House Party was pretty good for last week on Main Event. I don't doubt it. I have nothing against any of those workers. They're all great. They are all really good. Metalik and Dorado and Ali, Mansoor, they are all good talent. A lot of their matches, a lot of stuff in WWE just feels like it's unimportant. And that's what's wrong sometimes. You have guys going out having great matches. But, at the end of the day, they can have a great match all they want. It doesn't matter what the fuck. I mean, I appreciate the athleticism, I guess, but just going out there and having a great match for the sake of having a great match when it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things, that's what feels like WWE gets this kind of stale spinning their wheels type of feeling all the time, is because there's just too much content. They just throw shit at us. They got too much TV to write. They have 5 hours. AEW only has 3, so it feels it's a little easier of a watch, you know what I mean? Especially with that 1 hour Rampage that last week, I think might have been my favorite one so far. Well, it's hard to top the Punk one, but, it was short, sweet, to the point, great go home, closing out show for All Out, and I thought it was fun. So it's just the way shit is. Hey, I don't know why. Steel Spurs, don't ask me why a team is getting a title shot over another one. You can't figure WWE out. You think I can? Shotzi and Tegan, I do know turned up on SmackDown. What the fuck have they been doing? I haven't even seen them much either. But once they get an idea, like, do you ever notice too, like once they put the women tag team champions on one of the shows, they tend to stay there just for a while until they're like, oh shit, we should probably move them somewhere else or whatever. It seems like they're always just doing shit there in one spot and then move over. So, and I guess when they head back to SmackDown, maybe that's when Shotzi and Tegan get a shot, I guess. But they're kind of a weird team too. You know, they just got thrown together, so. Barry, what do I think about what Punk said? The recent AEW signings are bigger than the outsiders. I don't know. Fans are going to say no way, but I'm going to talk to you as somebody that was in his 20s when that shit was going down, and I remember it well. Business was not good in 1995 when Diesel was on top, and even Razor in WWE. They were big WWE stars, but I don't know if they would necessarily be bigger than CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, who both have performed multiple times in front of 80,000 people. You know, Daniel Bryan main evented a WrestleMania with 80,000 people screaming his name. I don't know about you, but I kind of think that's a little bit bigger of a deal than Diesel jumping over to WWE. And, you know, the same thing with CM Punk. I mean, he's been the hottest name. I mean, I didn't hear Diesel and Razor chants 6 years after they left. You know, so even though fans might on the surface reject that, or they might compare numbers, oh, ratings were better then, or they made more money, or this or that, you know, in terms of the buzz it created, I'd say it's about equal, because Hall and Nash, the outsiders going over there, changed wrestling. Wrestling hasn't been the same since. So you can't ever deny the significance of them going over there. But in terms of free agents and what it meant, that remains to be seen. I don't think they're there yet, because Hall and Nash, when they made the jump, that was a shift. That was an automatic shift, because even at that time, WWE was still picking up some ratings wins when Hall and Nash were still there before they jumped to WCW. So once they jumped, they did the outsider thing that was so interesting, and it was weird and eerie to see those guys in a WCW ring. And I think Bryan and Punk capture a lot of that. Like, it's just bizarre and cool to see them in like a different kind of setting, and then hitting us with Adam Cole at the same time, and Daniel Bryan and all that stuff. I can kind of see the comparison, and it's a fair comparison to make, but the lasting effects of the outsiders going to WCW, I think, you know, changed wrestling permanently. It still remains to be seen if Punk and Bryan and Cole change wrestling permanently. Tell you what, they got a hell of a start, because those are three huge, hot free agents, beloved in the wrestling world. All three of those chose AEW over WWE. So we may, in 10 years, look back and say, yes, that was a big moment. But I don't think you can make that determination in 3 days. But I also think CM Punk has to say what CM Punk has to say. And what's he going to say? We're not as big as the outsiders? Is he going to say, oh, man, we're nothing compared to them? Of course he's not going to say that. You know, these are comparable things. You don't have to look any further than the ovations that these guys got when they came out. You know, that was a big deal. Like think about it. Think about when Scott Hall debuted on Nitro. Even if you weren't old enough to remember that, I'm sure you've seen the clip. All denim, comes through the crowd. The crowd wasn't freaking out. They weren't screaming, minds blowing, freaking out and popping and going nuts and coming out of their seats. They almost kind of didn't know what was going on. And he was like, hey, yo, you know who I am. And then even a couple weeks later, when they're on the stage there and Kevin Nash gets debuted, when he comes up and slaps Bischoff on the back, you heard the audience react, but it wasn't like a holy fucking shit, you know, like it was last night. So, you know, Punk he's not out of line, I should say, making that comparison. I'm not going to say if it's true or not, but if people are going to discount and immediately dismiss that comparison, just have one thing to say. Think about it a little bit. Think it all the way through. He kind of is right. So we will see. I lived through those years. I lived through the 90s, you know, and I remember all that well, and gauging the fan response and all of that. In terms of how the audience responds in the building for these big returns, it was much bigger than Hall and Nash. The fans reacted very, very dramatically to Hogan's turn, of course, throwing shit in the ring and stuff. But in terms of Hall and Nash, even though it was crazy to see them there, the roof did not blow off the arena when Nash was up there talking about adjectives, So the response they get was definitely better. But once the NWO got cooking, then the crowds became really crazy. They came very involved in the show. They were throwing shit in the ring every week. The NWO was just getting crazy reactions. So, they followed up. Maybe their initial entry wasn't as big as what Bryan and Punk did, but what they did there might turn out to be more significant. That's why I think we have to just wait and see how it plays out before we make that call. Yeah, kind of curious what they do with MJF next. He'll be fine. I think I'd right now anyway, I trust their judgment on things so far. Some of the things they've done, the usage of certain guys, when to beat them, when not to beat them, the use of legends and stuff. I don't feel like myself or anybody else is really in a position to question them. They can make some head-scratching booking decisions sometimes, but in terms of how they're kind of managing all of these, new faces and new personalities, they're holding it together, at least for the moment. So I think MJF is going to be just fine. This loss, in the grand scheme of things, won't do much to harm him. Plus, the match last night was really good, and it was a good showing by him, even in the loss. So he'll bounce back from that. He'll continue to run his mouth, maybe even still get some revenge on Jericho down the road in the future. And eventually, AEW Gold will be around his waist. You got to remember, he is 25 years old. So he's got plenty of time. And there's no rush with MJF. Can't wait for that day when him and Punk get in the ring together. Holy shit. We might even get that on Wednesday. Punk needs somebody to work with. He'll probably team up with Darby or something soon in a tag match. But after that, I think he's got to move on to another dude. I think that too, I don't think a rematch between Punk and Darby is out of the question. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Darby to come out on TV and be like, I want one more shot. And Punk's like, all right, you want one more shot? Let's do it on Dynamite this time. So that could still happen. But soon we got to get a new opponent for Punk, and that could be anybody. And the possibilities are endless, and they're fucking exciting. Probably won't be anything at the top unless they have him back up Daniel Bryan, which I would love to see that too. The Elite is pretty strong, and they just added a big member in Adam Cole. And Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, if he's going to be teaming up with Lucha Express and Christian, maybe that's not enough. Maybe they need somebody else joining them, and that somebody else could be CM Punk. You don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they just manage all these personalities. It's pretty nuts, and it's pretty exciting, man. So exciting. Can't wait to see how it shakes out. That's right. Cody is coming back soon. I think he comes back Wednesday night, or you're predicting, Mike, that he comes back Wednesday night. They have been talking about that. He's going to have to resume his deal with Malachi Black. Hopefully he won't win, but he probably will. My God. Oh, you thought Lana was going to be the Joker last night. I feel like fans were smelling Ruby. They could tell. She released that little runaway vignette, and they wanted the music. They were chanting her name before she even came out, so it had to be her. Oh, thank you for that, Daniel. So Brock did that live show. Was that from the Garden in 2015? They were doing shit like that. They did a couple shows in Japan, remember? I remember it was like Kofi and Brock, and then I think it was Jericho and like Neville or Pac on that show. Yeah. Yeah, Mystery Goldberg has wrestled his 2 contract matches for the year. However, I think Saudi Arabia is a completely different thing. I almost think that Saudi Arabia is separate from everything else. I think if you work the Saudi Arabia show, you get a payday for that show. That's the way it has seemed. So I think Goldberg's matches are like normal matches, but if something like this comes up, you just got to fly over there for 2 nights, have a 4.5-minute match with somebody, and we'll pay you $1 million. Where do I sign up? So I don't think his contract's going to stand much in the way of that. And plus, they've already kind of set the wheels in motion there for the showdown between Lashley and Grandpa Goldberg, as a lot of people call him. You miss Raw Underground and Shane McMahon's shenanigans. They should have given Raw Underground some more time. I wasn't totally sold on it. I didn't hate it, but I wasn't sure about it, and I think it could have benefited from a little bit more time instead of just scrapping it. I mean, they gave the 24/7 title this long. How in the world do you keep the 24/7 title going on this long, but yet you scrap Raw Underground in just a couple of weeks? It's making no sense. Making no sense with the shake and bake. I don't know when Bray's 90 days are up. Probably a while. I'd say 2 more months, month and a half, something like that. Yeah, Victor, that's you're preaching to the choir. The 90s and now is a different time, but I can still compare them in terms of how, the fans reacted to stuff and all of that. So I've seen a lot of shows dating all the way back to the early 80s, and I haven't seen too many crowd reactions that match what we got last night. There's been plenty, but they're not a ton, and they're few and far between these days. All right, I think I got to most of the questions here. I should probably think about getting out of here soon. Do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button for me on the way out. If you don't mind, I would appreciate it. And unless there's nothing else to discuss, I'm probably going to bail out of here. And, oh, that's cool. Thank you for that. Taker is awesome. Bray's 90 days are up the Friday before Halloween. And I had been talking about Bray joining the Dark Order. I would love for him to be the new leader of the Dark Order. And Dark Order, I think, has kind of gone on record saying that, with Brody Lee's passing, they don't want a new leader. Nobody can fill his shoes, and they're right about that, except if one guy is, I think Bray Wyatt would be an excellent choice. His history with Brody Lee. You could even do a segment in the ring with, Bray and -1, where he talks about, how important his dad was to him and all of this, and I would like your blessing to try to follow in the big shoes that your dad left to fill, and I want to be the leader of the Dark Order and maybe get -1's like approval or blessing on the matter. Might be kind of an interesting segment. But if Wyndham Rotundo turns up in AEW, it just feels like that's just where he needs to be, unless AEW has just decided that they don't want to replace Brody Lee, which I can understand. I wouldn't want to replace Brody Lee with just anybody. Bray Wyatt is not just anybody. Bray Wyatt is somebody with a big history with Brody Lee, and I think it would fit and it would work and it would be awesome. So we'll see. But when he gets there, that's kind of where I want to see him go. But he could do anything, man. You never know. You never know. The Rowan deal was the Eric Rowan deal, I think, was a one-night thing. But not that they can't bring him back. But I don't think he's under any sort of contract. Did I say ontract? Contract. I think I was reading Zero Vision's comment on Oldberg. Yeah, he's definitely old. So am I. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for this evening. You guys have a great night. Thanks for being here. Don't forget, this Wednesday we start AEW Dynamite Watch-Alongs. We'll go live about 15 minutes before the show, and we'll hang out and watch the whole thing and then spend a few minutes after the show giving a recap of it. We're going to try that formula for Wednesdays this fall and see how it goes. So the fall season kicks off next week. I appreciate all your support. Thank you for all the birthday wishes today over here on the chat, on social media, in emails, all that stuff. You guys showed me a ton of love. I appreciate it. Y'all are the best. Have a good next couple of days, and I will catch you Wednesday night for Dynamite. Looking forward to it. Y'all be good.